Chris, what is our fifth main topic today?
Our fifth topic comes from James Lochmann. Hey, John and crew, episode 2 of The Last of Us aired last night, and what a great episode. Hats off to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. The level of detail on everything was phenomenal. I love the 2 opening scenes in both episodes. It gives those of us who have played the game a different perspective outside of Joel and Ellie's world. Bella Ramsey was great. She's showing the people that doubted her ability to play Ellie, that not only she can play the part, but she can hold her own against the adult actors. What did you guys think of last night's episode?
All right, thanks a lot, James, for writing that in. Now, again, just a reminder, we're going to talk about it in as much of an unspoilery way as we can. And then a little bit later at 3 p.m. this afternoon, we're going to be having our full open spoiler discussion. We'll get into every nook and cranny in detail, and we'll talk about it at length. But for this, yeah, listen, the first episode absolutely blew my mind. Now, I've seen several shows in the past year or two that the first episode really impressed me, and then the show went on to disappoint me after that. So I was really, really interested and excited to see the second episode. It just raised the bar. Look, The Last of Us is already, one episode in, movie or TV show, the single greatest video game adaptation of all time in entertainment media. After one episode, it reset the bar. I believe episode 2 raised that bar. They did stuff in this show. They showed tools in their tool belt that I didn't know they were going to be able to do. Like, can you create that sense of eerie tension? Ugh. That, you know, that idea that your anus pucker could squeeze a dime in half. Can they create a sense that it's going to make you feel like that?
Is that like a clicker? What is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, no. I mean, the tension was palpable. I mean, it was, to which Ray Ora was over at my house last night, and we're watching it last night, me and Ray, our buddy Ryan, and it's like halfway through the episode, and just out of nowhere, we're just watching it. They're walking slowly, and all of a sudden in the room, all you hear is Ray go, "This show's going to give me a fucking heart attack." And Ray, your quick thoughts on the episode last night.
Some of the camera angles they use in the episode really creep me out. I just really like the tension that they give, because I've never played the game. I've never played the game, so everything is new to me. And I'm like, dude, this is good, but I don't like it. Like, seriously, I might not watch the next few episodes just because my heart was beating out of my chest. I was like, where's it going to come from? What's going to happen? The music, the slight, like, just silence, whatever they did there was so creepy, to the point where when I went to the restroom last night, I was hearing clicking somewhere outside, and I was like, you know, the monster itself, like it whatever, but just the fact of just hear the noise they make without seeing it is like creepy to me. So, yeah.
Chris, you had a chance to watch the new episode of The Last of Us. What did you think of it?
Oh my gosh, it's so great and so scary. It's so scary. Even if you've played the game, this one really, really rocks you. They do such a great job on creating the clickers. Everything in this is so fun. That opening scene, like our viewer here wrote about too, really, really great, and really does a wonderful job of expanding the world and the gravity of everything that happened too. The lore that they keep building on, you were talking about this before the show, Rob, is so immense and wonderful. And some of the changes they made to the story too, I am really loving, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys about it when we do our open spoiler discussion.
The adaptation of this, we talked about it last week too, because a lot of it stays very true to the game. I mean, when they were just walking through the city, I'm like, this feels like it's shots like right out of the game.
Yeah.
There's even a shot where Ellie is in the foreground, and then Joel comes walking into side frame. It's like, that's a poster of the game, basically. But they also make changes. And every place they make changes, it's always for a reason to elevate the material. And every change they made elevated the story, in my opinion. There's even an opening. Now, maybe I'm just not remembering it, but there's an opening. The opening to this episode, I do not believe is in the game, unless I'm not remembering it right.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, is not in the game. And the opening, which we'll go into details about what the opening was later, but the opening just made me feel the world so much more with these characters in a different part of the world. And it was, oh my God, everything from the slight shaking of a hand. Again, if you saw it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I freaking love this episode. And Rob, you said we were talking beforehand and you mentioned something to me. It's like, that was the fastest 55 minutes I've ever seen on TV.
Dude, I couldn't believe it because I looked at how long the episode was. And
because you thought it was like a half hour when it was
when I watched it, I thought it was, I'm like, was that a mistake? I was so engrossed that episode moved like a gunshot and not a gunshot into, a monster's head or anything. It was a gunshot. It was, John, here's what I'm fascinated by. I'm fascinated by adaptation. I've always been fascinated by adaptation. Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorite directors, and most of his movies are adaptations of books. And sometimes, like The Shining is not a faithful adaptation to King's novel. This, you have Neil Druckmann, who wrote and co-directed the game, The Last of Us. They brought him on to co-create this show with Craig Mazin. And as I said to you, Craig Mazin directed episode 1, and they co-wrote the first episode. This episode, Mazin wrote it, but Druckmann directed it. So there's a synergy going on between one of our great showrunners, Mazin, based on what he did with Chernobyl, and Druckmann, who's the prime mover who wrote the game. So the way they're adapting things, and they're making changes to the game. But for my money, all they're doing is, because when you're not playing, if you're playing a game, there's a lot of shortcuts you can take as the protagonist, the character that you're playing. So when you're playing Joel in the game, it's a different thing than if you're watching Joel in an adaptation. I'm blown away by what they did. And not just the opening sequence, which is not in the game, but even the way they addressed something. Remember last week I said they went by something pretty quickly.
Yes.
They opened that complaint that I had was ill-conceived after watching what they did in this episode, because they handled it beautifully. A little bit different than the game did, but again, I thought it was a great accentuation, and you got to learn more about the portrayal of Ellie. She's a little bit more headstrong than she was in the game, different, but she has to be in order for audiences to buy into this.
That she's a product of this world.
Yes. Yeah. This episode was a banger. Everything about it, the tension, the frights, the scares in this, the tension. I felt like somebody was wrapping piano wire around my neck. I was sitting there with my dogs, and my dogs are, when I watch scary things, they know that I'm tense. Like, they're like, what's wrong? And they're all like crowding around me, and they're covering. I had like dog blanket all over me. And I'm like, no, for me, it's a good thing. I'm trying to explain it. And then they freak out when there's sounds. I love this episode so much. I thought it was incredible. And while it followed the story of the game, and they added to the lore of the antagonists in a beautiful way, and they explained it in the after show what they did, and they expanded the lore of this game that made sense in the context of the game, and yet accentuated everything about the situation they find themselves in. And I'm like, this is baller, dude. I loved it. And by the way, can I give a shout out to the VFX?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
The effects, I mean, I thought what they did in I Am Legend was amazing. New York overgrown. They're not shying away. In almost every background you see, I need to see a making of how they're doing the visual effects in this, because it's impressive.
Yeah, they've done a really, really good job. And again, for her playing Ellie, she is owning this role.
Owning it.
And
she's a different Ellie than the game.
Yes.
And I love it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What did you think about The Last of Us episode 2? I thought it just took the bar that they set, and they've made it even higher. How did you guys feel about it? Maybe it didn't work for you. Maybe this isn't the type of show for you and you're not enjoying it as much. Whatever you guys think. Don't forget, a little bit later today, we're going to be talking about The Last of Us episode 2 in a full open spoiler discussion. We hope you join us for that. But until then, guys, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. Guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/Campea today. That's masterclass.com/Campea. Terms apply.